9 nonfiction books to add to your classroom library ASAP, and why.
Hey, my name's Amanda Ziba. Welcome to my channel, Learning with the Word Nerd. Today I want to tell you about 9 amazing nonfiction titles that you can add to your classroom library. Why? Because in a recent study, when given the choice between nonfiction and fiction books, over 40% of kids picked nonfiction. And I'm willing to bet that most of our classroom libraries are filled with fiction books. And if we let that stay that way, we're going to be missing out on a huge chunk of readers that we could be engaging. So I'm going to tell you all about these 9 books. Some of them can be used directly connected to your classroom curriculum, and others are just for fun that you can use to spark curiosity and wonder and engagement in your readers. If you head over to my blog, you'll be able to see related teaching activities for each of these titles as well. But right now, let's dig into these 9 books. The first one I want to tell you about is called Improbable Libraries, and this is one of those ones that's just for fun. This book showcases incredible and amazing libraries all around the world, and it's just fun for students to see where other kids like to do their reading. One of my favorite examples is this library made entirely out of bamboo, and it is founded in a resort in Thailand. So it'd be really fun to have this out, let students page through, see where they might like to do their reading, and even design their own perfect reading environment. The next one on my list is one of a series. It's called Kid Athletes by David Stabler, and it tells all about these famous athletes and what they were like as kids and how they got their starts. Now, I don't know about you, but when I see athletes or celebrities or authors or scientists or presidents even, I wonder, gosh, what were they like as a kid? Or like, they had to come from somewhere, right? Like, I know there's a kid from my high school who's now in the NBA, and I think, that's amazing. That kid, he played on the court that I, did at gym class. Like, how cool is that? It's really fun to be able to see where these athletes started out when they were kids and hear funny stories about them. There's lots of books in this series. There's one about presidents, one about inventors, some scientists. There's a great one about authors and another one about artists. So if you want to know what kids were like before they were famous, this is an awesome series that you can add to your classroom. Another reason particularly why my kids really like it is it also comes with lots of great illustrations to break up the nonfiction text. So Kid Athletes by David Stabler. The next one on the list is another one of those ones that's just for fun. It's just intriguing. This cover really pulled me in. The Secret Lives of Color. This is what the back says. The Secret Lives of Color tells the unusual stories of 75 fascinating shades, dyes, and hues. From the brown that changed the way battles were fought to the white that protected against the plague. From Picasso's blue period to the charcoal on the cave walls of Lecao. From Scarlet Women to Punk's industrial pink, these surprising stories run like a bright thread through history. So it uses color as a vehicle to teach history. It's a beautiful book, lots of great colors on the sides. You could even just like for fun read a page a day and see what cool and interesting facts. Like I know when I read one of the very first entries about ivory, I learned that about ivory and chess sets and how like one of the world's most ivory chess sets inspired the big life-size Harry Potter chess set. We'll get to Harry Potter later. But just a really cool thing. And then if you also want to pair something even more fun with it, you could do one of my really cool, fun trivia color videos. So The Secret Lives of Color, totally worth adding. I think it's, meant for adults, but I think kids would find it fascinating too. These next 2 that I'm going to talk about would be great in connection to a writing unit because it's going to talk about other famous writers, and much like this book talking about kids when they were young, famous people, this one talks about famous authors when they were young, and actually it's those authors telling their story and actually sharing some of their work from when they were young. So when you look at a famous author and you think, I could never write like that, well, now you can see what they wrote like when they were 8 and they were 12. Another really fun thing about this book is that it always includes a picture of the author when they were a kid as well. So Linda Sue Park on this channel, I have A Long Walk to Water. This is what she looked like when she was a kid. And in the book, she shares some of her own handwritten and typed writing samples. And I think that it's just really validating for kids to know that, like, these people didn't wake up famous. They didn't wake up super talented as writers. They worked on it, and that can be motivating to them while they're working on their own project. Another real quick one, Brian Selznick is also on this channel for Hugo Cabret, and this is what he looked like as a kid, and then they also included some of his earliest artwork. So our story begins, edited by Alyssa Brent Weissman. Totally one you should add to your classroom library. Speaking of famous writers, Mightier Than the Sword by my friend Michelle Melander talks about famous people who use writing as a vehicle to further their career and further their message. This has a lot of great history in it as well, and a lot of really great connections to other content areas outside of writing. For example, this page or a couple pages on Charles Darwin. They always give the name, a picture, they tell what their career was, the year in which they lived, and then like why they wrote. So it says Charles Darwin wrote to experiment. They always give some great quotes by the writer, and then some background and history on how this famous person used writing and made an impact with their words. And then at the very end, my favorite part of this book is called the Right Now section. And after you've read about what this famous person does with their words, then it gives you an opportunity to do some writing as well. So after Charles Darwin, for example, the activity is, what theories would you like to explore? Using the scientific method, create a hypothesis and test it. Write a report that encourages readers to adopt your discoveries. Or on the next one, Ada Lovelace, who is an algorithm writer. Often we don't think about writing and math going together, but this book shows that it's true and that you can talk about writing outside of writing class. And the Right to Know says, do you dream of doing something impossible? Write a how-to guide and illustrate it. So just there's so many amazing ways that you could use this book in your classroom, or you could just leave it on the shelf and let somebody explore it at their own. Two more that are going to be really great for curriculum connections are History Smashers by Kate Messner and Major Events in American History by Megan DeVarney Forbes. Each of these books delve into major historical events, and they do it in two different ways. This one does it in really brief, short snips. So if you were studying something like the American Revolution, or the crossing of the Delaware, or walking on the moon, you could get a really quick recap in history in like a page and a half. These are really digestible, and then at the end of each section, so you can see just a couple little bits. At the end of each section, it always has an explore more. So if you want to know more about this, it tells you where you can go or how you can explore those ideas. This book is a series, and they cover all sorts of different portions of history. I think there are 7 out right now. But the whole premise of the book is that they say, hey, you think you know about this historical event, you think you know what you've been taught, but there's kind of some misconceptions and myths and urban legends floating around that aren't really true. We're going to smash history and tell you what really happened, which is really fascinating. And the other thing I love about this book is the format. It's told in different texts. It includes primary documents. There's sections that include, try to find one here, little graphic novel sections. And so it makes history super digestible. Again, you could just put this out on the shelf and let somebody enjoy the whole thing on their own, or you could pull out snippets and teach it right in your curriculum. This next one is one of my favorites. I actually bought it for my son for his birthday a couple of years, and it's called Atlas Obscura Explorer's Guide for the World's Most Adventurous Kid. And it goes over 47 different countries and over 100 different places that you can visit. And now, I know especially in these times, traveling isn't super prevalent. I know on my budget, traveling isn't super prevalent. But through the pages of this book, we can go all around the world and discover the most amazing and incredible places. The illustrations are just incredible. I'm going to try to find a really awesome one here for you. In addition to the great illustrations and the facts, there's often little map inserts. Each place has specific facts teaching you about that place. They tell you the location. Sometimes they'll tell you the animals that are located there, or a specific geographic feature, or the food that people often eat there. And it's just an incredible book that will suck readers in, mostly I think because of the way that it looks, but then once they get into it, they're going to be doing a ton of reading, and it's going to spark a bunch of curiosity. This might be one that you have to like check out on like a 2-day limit so that as many kids as possible can get it in your classroom. The last one I want to talk to you is probably the largest, heaviest book that I own, and it is called The Art of Harry Potter. And this book goes through the concept art of Harry Potter and how the artists and the screenwriters took J.K. Rowling's books and turned them into movies. And it goes through the characters and the setting and the costumes and the props. And one of the really fascinating things that I found while looking through this book and reading is that when I look at the art, I think, wow, they did a really great job painting the movie. But that's not the way it went. They did the art, they did the paintings first based on the book, and then the movie makers took that art and they turned it into a movie. And it's just mind-blowing to know that the art came first and the movie came second. There are longer sections of text in here. So there is some actual reading. I mean, it is largely a picture book. But if you're wanting to give the readers in your classroom a little bit of the magic behind the scenes of the Harry Potter world, that's going to be a great book to get. I hope that these were helpful suggestions. These aren't the only nonfiction books that I would recommend for your classroom. They're just ones that I know are well loved and ones I had on hand. Mostly this video is just serving as a reminder to you to not forget nonfiction books in your classroom library. They are so important and valuable, and your readers will love you for having them. I've put links for all of these books down in the description box, and remember to head to my blog to check out the related teaching activities for each of these as well. Happy reading. I hope to see you again here next time. Please like this video and subscribe so you can stay connected for more great First Chapter Friday videos and other videos you can use in your classroom. Happy reading!